Okay. So I see most of you already know C programming and you are comfortable with loops. When asked with Java programming, yes, some of you know the basics. Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that. Fine. So since you already know Java fundamentals, I'll just give a quick overview, okay, and then we'll go ahead. Our agenda for this today's class is that we will be learning what do you mean by pass by value, what do you mean by pass by reference, what do you mean by abstract class, what do you mean by interface, as well as we will also see the equality of objects, right? So maybe abstract class and interface we will be discussing tomorrow. The rest of the things we will figure it out today. Okay. So if you see the different versions of Java, the current version of Java is the Java Standard Edition 14, which was released in March 2020. So what we will be covering is the Java 8 version, which is the LTS support. LTS is indicative of long-term support. So you have a support up to March 2025. If you were to upgrade to another version of Java, I would suggest go ahead and take the Java Standard Edition 11 because that is not a beta release and you will definitely get it a support up to 2026. So I hope some of you know how to install Java. So you just have to go to Oracle's download page. Of course, these details I will be sharing with you specifically for this presentation also. Okay. So you can go to the downloads page and they will be asking you where do you want to download on based on which platform. So if yours is a Windows operating system, then you can go ahead and tell that I want to download for Windows and you can download the exe file. Once you click on the download link, they will be giving you an acknowledgement. Once you acknowledge the agreement, your download link will be available for download. Now suppose if you're going for a suppose you have to sign in. So Oracle says a free account. Once you sign in, you will be able to download. If you're using a Mac operating system, there is a PKG file that will be downloaded. All you have to do is double click it and then you can continue your installation, right? And if you're having a Windows operating system, then the .exe file that is downloaded, you just have to double click it and installer will be opening up for you. And then you can see that this is the file exact location where it is being downloaded. If you want to change the location, you can go ahead and change the location. Am I audible to everyone? Because some people are telling I'm not. Yes.
Audible to
Oh,
me.
okay, okay, fine. So if you see the installer, it will be downloaded in this particular folder. Okay, and if you want to change that particular position, you can go ahead and change this location here. Okay, now once you install Java, there will be a progress bar telling you whether Java is correctly installed. You can open up a command prompt. So I hope some of you know how to open a command prompt. You can go to Start, System, and Command Prompt. In the command prompt, if you're using a Windows command prompt, then you have to use Java hyphen space hyphen version. Notice there is only a single hyphen. Okay, then you will get to know the Java version. If this is successfully possible for you, that means you have successfully installed Java. Now, if you're using a Mac operating system, then when you go to the command prompt, that is by going to the launch option in Mac, and then you can choose the terminal application. Inside that, you will see Java space hyphen hyphen version. Note in Mac operating system, you have to have a double hyphen. Once you enter the double hyphen, then in that case, if you see the version of Java that is installed, then your Java is successfully installed. Now to see, like Sir said, Java is both a compiled as well as an interpreted programming language. So if you see, the name of the compiler in Java is Java C. So if you want to see if it is available in this particular folder, can I use my compiler in this particular folder? Just type Java C, and if you're able to see these options, these are known as class path, different options that you can use along with this command. If you're able to see, then this is fine. You can compile and run your Java program. But if you in this case, when you type and if you're getting an error like command not found error, then in that case you need to set what is known as the path variable. Okay, path variable is an environment variable which will tell you where exactly is your Java C located. You have to specify that. Okay, so I will send along with this, since this is not part of our webinar, I will send along with this a video. This is a video wherein I will tell you how exactly you can change that, compile and run a normal Java program without using an IDE. That means just by using a notepad or a text editor, okay, Sublime text editor, whichever editor you want, normal Java program if you want to run, compile and run it. Are you okay? So if you want to run a normal program without using an IDE, okay, so prerequisite for this webinar, we told you to install either Eclipse IDE, you can install NetBeans, you can install STS, that is Spring Tool Suite, or you can install IntelliJ. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you can go ahead. Some of you who are using my mobile, you can use any online compiler for running and compiling the Java program. That is not a problem. Okay, so I will be sending you this video on the steps on how to compile and run. If in case you get an error called as path and class path error, this video I will send along with it, wherein you can correct that particular error by setting two environment variables. One is known as path environment variable, which will tell you where exactly is your Java C, which is your compiler in Java, and where exactly is your Java, which is your interpreter in Java. So to specify those two things, I will be sending this video to you in a Drive link. Is that fine? So we can go ahead with the webinar. That's why I'm telling. So right now, anyway, you will not be going ahead with the installation while the webinar is going on. After that, you can try it. And if any doubts, do come back tomorrow, wherein I can clear those doubts. Okay, but do try it once I send you these videos. Okay. So now, just for the understanding, I will just show you how exactly is the Java's programming flow. Okay, so if I have my .java file here, okay, so in Java, the name of the source code or the file in which you are writing your Java code, suppose this is that particular file. Okay, so I wrote my Java program, just like you write C program or whatever. So this is what is known as source file. Okay, and this source file, what extension do you save it? Suppose I save it as A is the name, and the extension of the Java file will be a.java. Okay, a.java will be the extension. Now I need to compile. What do you mean by compilation? Is where I am checking the syntax of the program. Like every language has a grammar of its own. Like English has a grammar, French has a grammar of its own. Similarly, Java has a grammar of its own, which a particular program understands. That program is what is known as compiler. So Java compiler understands the syntax of Java. The name of the compiler is known as Java C. You will find it when you install Java. You will find this in the JDK's bin folder. I showed you now there is a particular folder, C program files Java JDK. In that particular, there is a folder called as bin, indicative of binaries. In that folder, you will find this particular compiler. Okay, so Java C space. If I write a.java, okay, this I'm entering in my command prompt. And I just press enter. This is called as compilation. So what does compiler do? It just checks the syntax, whether my Java program is coherent with the syntax of Java. If I make any error, obviously this particular one will give you an error. Okay. Now the output of compilation is what is known as a .class file. There is another file that is created, and that extension is called as .class file. Okay. So it will be a.class file. This a.class file is also known as bytecode. It is also known as intermediate code in Java. A.class file is also known as bytecode. So if you try to open the a.class file and see, you will not understand it. As a programmer, you understand what you learned Java, so you understand Java. But this code you will not understand. But I'm telling you that this is an intermediate language. Okay, this is an intermediate language. So just like language is something that anybody understands. Jaise ki English is a language that we understand provided we learn English. So similarly, if I'm calling this as an intermediate language, there must be somebody who understands this particular language. Yes or no? Even if I do not open this particular file and I as a programmer do not understand it, but still it is called as an intermediate language. That means it is a language that is understood by somebody. So who is that somebody? Is it that this .class file is understood by the operating system? If I'm having an operating system, does it mean that this .class file is understood by the base operating system? No, that is wrong. It is not understood by base operating system. Imagine my base operating system is Windows. Okay, Windows understands what type of files? .exe files. And this is not an exe file. You understand it? Rohit sir, please mute कर दो. Okay, thank you. Okay, so A dot class file is there. This is an intermediate language which is not understood by my base operating system. So who understands this particular A dot class file? Okay, so there is a software that is installed on top of Windows, and that software is known as a Java virtual machine. Okay, so what exactly is a virtual machine? Virtual machine is a machine that is using resources of the base operating system. Like for example, if I told you, I give you a physical calculator and I asked you to perform A plus B, you will be able to do that, 1 plus 2. But if I were to tell you the same thing to do on a calculator which is there in your system, then also you will be able to do the same task. Are you understanding? But the calculator that is there in your system is what is known as a virtual machine. That means it is a software that cannot be touch and felt. Okay, so you cannot touch and feel software. Okay, so you are having the same application that is installed on top of your Windows, and what this application does is it's taking sharing resources from the base operating system. What do I mean by sharing resources from base operating system? In the sense memory, it could be memory, it could be computing power. Okay, so all these things are shared from the base operating system. So Java virtual machine is a virtual machine. Okay, in the sense it's a machine that you cannot touch and feel, yet it acts just like a normal machine in which you can perform the task. It has memory, it has computing power. Only thing, it's not its own, it is taking that memory and computing power from the base operating system. Okay, so there is a Java virtual machine. Now, just like Windows understands exe file, the Java virtual machine understands one particular file. And what is that file? The bytecode. Are you understanding? The A dot class file, which is the bytecode, which is the intermediate language, is understood by the Java virtual machine. So if I were to tell you Java virtual machine is a machine which understands bytecode. The dot class file is understood by the Java virtual machine. Similarly, if I were to take this A dot class file and I were to run it on, say, Linux operating system, any Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Ubuntu, whatever you want, then I'm going to install a JVM that is specific to that particular platform. If you remember when we saw the slide, we saw that when we are downloading Java, it is specifically telling, do you want to download for Windows or do you want to download for Solaris? I'm understanding. So there is a JVM that is specific to each operating system, each platform. So when I say A dot class file, it is understood by this JVM also. It is understood by this JVM also. That's what I say. The executable file in Java. What is the executable file in Java? It is not A.java file, which is executable file. This is source code. The executable file in Java is A dot class file. Okay, executable file in Java is known as the A dot class file. And this A dot class file you can run on top of any of the JVM. Okay, so let me just tell you, like Sir said, Java is a platform independent programming language. Platform independent programming language. How come? Because its executable file, which is the A dot class file, can run on any platform specific JVM. The JVM is not platform independent. The JVM is dependent on platform. You understanding? The JVM is dependent on the platform. For Windows, I can install only this JVM. For Linux, I can install only this particular JVM. But the dot class file, if I were to take this dot class file, which is compiled in one system, say Windows, I compiled it in Windows. This dot class file, if I were to take it in a pen drive and try to run it on the JVM which is installed on Linux, it will work perfectly fine. You understanding? So the A dot class file, which is the executable file or the bytecode in Java, will run on any JVM that is platform specific. And that is the reason why Java as a programming language is platform independent. Okay, so basically, I'll just take a screenshot so I can give this to you. Yeah. Fine. Now, basically, if I were to consider the entire cycle of how exactly the .java file is going into memory, this is the A.java file that you all know is actually what? Source code, right? This source code, when I compile by using javac and compiling, I will get the executable file, which is A.class file. Okay. Now, those of you know CPP and all, they say that objects जो है, it creates at dynamic, that is at runtime. At runtime, okay. So what happens is when I say a dot class file, that means executable file is created. Does it mean that memory is being allocated? No, it means which type of memory is being allocated? Secondary memory. It is residing on your hard disk. It's an actual file that is there on your hard disk. So that means what type of memory it is allocating? Secondary memory. Secondary memory, which is the hard disk memory. Okay. So this a dot class file. You know, whenever you have what do you call Microsoft Word, you want to read from Microsoft Word. Just because a file is residing in your hard disk, can you read or write into that file? No, you have to first open the file, then only you can start reading and writing. And opening the file means what? Trying to bring that particular file from secondary memory to main memory. That is what it is doing when you're opening. Okay. So when I say a dot class file, before I can start executing that file, okay, because this is the executable file, before I can start executing this particular file, I need to bring it from secondary memory to main memory. Okay. And in Java, that is taken care by one module which is known as class loader. Okay. There is a module which is known as class loader. What does the class loader do? It loads this a dot class file which is there residing on your secondary memory hard disk into the main memory, primary memory. Okay. But you see, Java is a very secure programming language. Secure how? Like for example, if suppose this a dot class file, which is residing on your hard disk, somebody opened it and tried to alter the file. Okay. See, that was not compiled and it was not part of my source code. But see, somebody tried to hack into my system and injected some code into the dot class file, which is the executable file. Then it would run on your JVM. Okay. But what happens is when the class loader loads it into memory, there is another sub module which is known as bytecode verifier. Bytecode verifier. What does a bytecode verifier do? Is that it checks this a dot class file. There is a number that is there. It's kind of like a checksum number. That number is known as a magic number. It is known as a magic number. Okay. So when you compile, that magic number is fixed. When the bytecode verifier opens it and sees if this particular file has been altered in some way, then in that case, this bytecode verifier will give you an error. It is known as a verify error. Okay. So in that sense, Java is a very secure programming language. If somebody tries to alter the exe file, or in this case, the executable file of Java, which is .class file, the bytecode verifier will flag you. Okay. So over here, what happens? Once your .class is a verified .class file, then only it will be loaded into memory. So in Java, there are many memory areas. Of course, I'm not going into all the details of the memory areas in Java because we have to stick to the webinars, this thing, okay, just for your understanding. So when I'm having the .class file, I need to load it into memory. So now you're having what? The Java JVM's memory area. So I told you this memory area is coming from the base operating system, but it is a private memory that is just for your application. Okay. So inside that, there is a memory area which is known as method area. Okay. Memory area which is known as method area. Some people in different versions of Java, they call it as perm space, they call it as meta space. Okay. Some people call it even data section. Okay. So basically this a dot class which is there in secondary memory is now going to come in primary memory. Okay. So this is primary memory. This is the main RAM. Okay. So this is the volatile memory. So inside that my a dot class will be coming in. Now when I create object, okay, so some of you may not be knowing the OOPS concept. So for that, I will give you a README, which you can read and come tomorrow also, okay, for the OOPS concepts. So if you are not understanding, please do ask me tomorrow also, okay. So I want to stick to the curriculum of the webinar, that's why, okay. So just notice that I need to create, if I'm writing A, okay, so this is class A, and inside that, whatever code you want, you can write Java code, okay. And of this particular class, I need to create an object. So using new keyword followed by constructor, I'm going to give an object. Okay. So when I write new, I'm telling I need to allocate memory. Okay. So when you run the program, how do you run the program? Java is the name of the interpreter in Java. in Java. Java space, you have to write A and just press enter. You're running it. Name of the dot class file only, do not write the extension. So once you run your Java program, that is when the memory is being allocated for it. And then in that, when you write, it will start reading your program. So some of you might be knowing there is an entry point of every Java program, and that entry point is known as a main method. So it will start reading from the main method. It will start its execution from here. Okay. And when it sees that you see a particular line called as new A, or new B, some other class file, anything new followed by constructor, it is actual object creation. Okay. So when actual object creation happens, there is a memory area in Java which is known as heap space. In that heap space, that object is going to get created. Okay. So we will see this practically also, how exactly object is being created. Okay. So for that, I'm going to create a class called as date class. Okay. And I'm going to do two concepts, which is known as pass by value and pass by reference. Okay. And then you might get a better clarity. Then we will see how to create objects, how to compare two objects, whether the values that are there inside both the objects are same or not. Okay. Those concepts we will be covering. Okay. So we'll stick to the webinar concept. So since I have installed STS, which is an IDE, Spring Toolsuite, it is a bare extension. It is an extended plugin that is there for Eclipse. So I will send you a documentation, how exactly to install this software also. Okay. So for the time being, I'm just going to open STS. So some of you who know Eclipse know that it is exactly same as Eclipse. The environment is exactly same as Eclipse. So all you need to do is you create a particular folder in your desktop. Okay. And if I'm going here, file, there is an option called a switch workspace. Switch workspace. In other, you can go to that particular folder. Now, what exactly is a workspace? Workspace is a directory where all your projects will be stored of this particular application. Whatever applications you make, all your projects will be stored in that particular folder. So imagine you made a particular folder in your desktop. Okay. So I already made a particular folder called as webinar space. Okay. And I just click open. Okay. And it is going to launch. If you have made a particular folder in your desktop, you can browse and go to that particular folder so that you get a fresh start. Okay. So it will launch. That means it will open into that itself, that particular folder, whatever you have created. Okay. So it's going to launch now. You don't have to worry about Spring and all. It is a framework, extended framework. You don't have to worry about it now. We are still in core Java. Okay. So you can use any IDE. Yes, and Anju, I'm using Mac right now. But don't worry, if you're using Windows, I will be giving you the step-by-step approach for Windows also. File, new. There is an option here called as Java project. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to give any name for my Java project. So since I want, this is our day one first webinar, I'll just give it day one. So I have in my Mac operating system the JDK 11 that is installed. So it's coming by default time. If you have 8, keep it as such. Okay. So I click finish. There is a concept called as module when it comes to Java 11, which we will not discuss in this particular webinar though. So I'll just tell don't create. And whatever perspective that it tells me to open, which is the default perspective. So if it's a Java application, you just open the perspective that it tells. And this is your project that is created. Fine. So SRC folder, as you know, SRC is a folder wherein you can store your source files. You remember the .java file I told you is what is known as a source file. Okay. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to create a class. Okay. So class is nothing but a template or a blueprint to create 0 or more like objects. Okay. So if I'm telling you're a class of Java class, so this is a class which has 0 or more objects. That means I'm just creating a template for you. Okay. That means if this particular class, if I just explain that a little bit. Okay. So it's like if I have a building, okay, I'm going to make a foundation for a building. This is a foundation. Okay. So in that foundation or the particular blueprint that I was making, okay, plan of my building, I specifically told I need 2 BHK building or rooms only, 2 BHK rooms only. Okay, so that means I have decided what is known as my template or my blueprint. Okay, you can call this as class. You can call this as class in Java. Okay, so that means I'm having just a template or a blueprint. Till now, I never made a single building. Are you understanding? I never made a single building out of this foundation. That's why I'm telling 0 or more objects. Okay, 0 or more objects. Okay, so now if I say this is residing where, the class that I created, where is it residing? In secondary memory. You remember the dot class file, wherever you wrote, or the dot Java file, both of them are residing where? In secondary memory only. Okay, we are not talking about dynamic memory yet because we have not started running the dot class file. Okay, so I created my class. That means I created a template. Now of this particular class, I'm going to create object. That means I'm going to create actual building. You understanding? I'm going to create the actual building, which is going to allocate what? Primary memory. So if I told in my template that it should be 2 BHK apartment, do you think that in the actual object it will be 4 BHK apartment? No, the object always follows what is mentioned in the template. The template says that 2 BHK. That means if you're telling you have a class called as account, okay, and inside that account you have told that you are going to have an account ID. Okay, so obviously in this class, if this class I create an object, new account, this is how you create an object. This object will have account ID. If I create another object, this object will also have account ID. You cannot tell this object will not have account ID. Are you understanding? These are variables that are residing within the object. Okay, so if I'm saying I'm creating a template, which is a class, okay, this template I'm actually providing primary memory. That is when I'm actually physically creating the building. So there will be a building which is having 2 BHK apartments. If I create another object by using new operator, okay, then this one will also have what? 2 BHK apartments. It will not have anything that is not mentioned in the class. Okay, so this is also inside primary memory by using the new keyword. So class and objects. Okay, so what is a class? It is a blueprint or a template to create 0 or more. Why am I telling 0? Because even if I do not create object, this is still a class. Okay, so a template or a blueprint to create 0 or more like objects. Why am I telling like objects? Because obviously the template remains the same. It does not mean that if this is 2 BHK, I can make this 4 BHK. That does not work that way, right? If the template is same, if the mold or the structure is the same, then obviously its memory, when it is being allocated dynamically, they will also be alike. Understanding? So this will be 2 BHK, this will also be having 2 BHK. That will not change. Okay, so that is what is an object? An object is an instance of a class. So what do you mean by instance? जिसका dynamic memory allocated here for a particular class. That is this. Where for the class I'm having what? Primary memory allocated. That is what? An object. Simple. Okay, but of course if you want more details, then I will give you a readme on classes and objects. Just read that and do let me know tomorrow if you're having doubts. Okay, fine. Now I'm going to create a date class. Okay, so here I'm going to create the name as date. Okay, and package name, if you notice there is a warning that is coming. Package name, use of default package is discouraged. If you do not write any package name, there is a problem that comes later when you try to import this class in other classes. Okay, that time the problem happens. So for now I'll just write it as lab1, today's lab1. Okay, okay, I'll tell you later when, of course, we don't have that much time because of time constraint. I'm not going into detail about what do you mean by package and all. Package is just a folder. Okay, this folder will be created in your secondary storage, that is your hard disk, and in that hard disk you will be creating a date.java file. Okay, so if I just click finish, you will see that there is a date.java file that is being created. If you want to see where exactly this project is created, you can right click your project. There's an option called as properties, and you see the symbol over here. You can just click that symbol. It will tell you where exactly is your project created. See, in your webinar workspace, day 1, this is for where your source files will be located, and this is where your dot class, once you run, will be generated. bin folder. That is a setting that is already there in your Eclipse or STS, which is having a dot project settings, which is a hidden file. Okay, in that dot project settings, it is already mentioned that my class path is already mentioned there. Okay, so I told you I will give you a readme for path and class path as well, so you will be able to better understand what do you mean by class path. Okay, so the dot Java file will be stored here. So you see lab1 folder is there. Inside that we have the date.java file. Okay, so it's an actual physical file that is residing on your secondary memory. Right? Fine. So we have that dot class file. Now I'm going to just expand this a little bit. I'll just close unnecessary tabs, not required. Fine. So we have our date class. Okay. So in this date class, I'm going to say I have date is a class. It's a template. That means I'm only deciding the structure right now. For my date, I should have private int day, month, and year. Okay. So I'm telling day, month, and year. Now, if I want to give values for that day, month, and year in Java, I can give it here. There is no problem. Okay. I can give it here. Imagine if I write like this. But in that case, what happens? Siddesh, yes, if you want me to explain JVM, JRE, and JDK, please wait till the end. Okay. And I will definitely explain it. But just remind me, Siddesh. Okay. Fine. So that I do not forget. Fine. So if I say day, month, and year, then if what is the problem? See, you wrote in your template already. What is the problem? You wrote in your template already that day should be equal to 0, month should be equal to year. So if I create an object of that particular class, everybody's day, month, and year will be what? By default, what? 0. Okay, but you don't have to specifically write 0, because here automatically in Java there is something called as a default constructor, which will automatically initialize the values to 0 itself. But what if I don't want the values to be 0? I want the values to be the values which I give. Okay, when the object is created itself in memory, that time itself I want it to have the values which I am giving. Okay, so I'm going to create what is known as a constructor. Okay, so to create a constructor, you can either type it on your own, or in Java there is a shortcut. You can right click. Okay, source. There is an option called a source, and in that there is a option called as generate constructor using field. Okay, generate constructor using field. So what is a constructor used for? To initialize the object when the object is created itself. Okay, and for now I'm not going to explain this concept super why exactly it is coming. It is to call the parent's default constructor. Okay, that is why it is used. And of course you might think there is no parent here, but there is a parent which is object class, which we will not be discussing this in this particular class anyways. Okay, so I'm telling these variables which are created inside the constructor are known as local variables. How do I know they are local variables? Because it's declaration. Okay, local variables. How do I know these are local variables? Because it's declaration. Declaration means the data type is right next to it, and the declaration happens to be within the method. That means this variable I can only use within this constructor. I cannot use it outside the constructor. That is why it is known as local variable. Only local to the scope of this constructor, right? So these are known as local variables. Now, if I see this on the left hand side, okay, these are known as instance variables. Okay, these are known as instance variables. So do you remember object is an instance of a class? Right, one instance. That means these are the variables that are actually residing within the object. That means when you create a class, if I write day, month, and year over here, I created a class which is having day, month, and year. Okay, of this particular class, if I were to create an object by using new operator, if I were to create an object, that object goes into a memory space. I told you objects are created in a memory space called heap. Okay, and there I will get the day, month, and year. These are variables that are actually residing within that particular object. Ubuntu, is it necessary to install JDK or doesn't it? There is another option in Ubuntu which is known as Open JDK. It comes along with the installation. If you're willing to use that, because there are different types of JDK. One is known, what we are discussing is the hotspot JVM of Sun Solaris. Open JDK is another freeware software. If you're willing to use that, you can go ahead and use that, Gaurav. There is not a problem. Okay. Then there comes a heap. So inside that, day, month, and year. Okay. So if I create another object, then that will also have its own memory of day, month, and year. Okay. So this is residing within the heap. Are you understanding? So if these are variables. That means if I give a particular value for this is only for this object. If I give a different value for this is only for this particular object. Right? So let me just show you that. So these variables on the left hand side. So I will not be discussing this operator right now, okay, because let me see towards the end, if I'm having time, then I will definitely discuss it in detail. Okay. So what happens is that the name of this local variable and the name of this instance variable happens to be the same. Okay. So what happens? Compiler will get confused. If you see this, both the names are same. So it gets confused. Do I have to assign local variables inside instance variable? Or do I have to assign instance variable value inside local variable? Compiler is confused. So in that case, to avoid the confusion, see if you see the warning here, it is telling the assignment to the variable has no effect. That means this day variable will still be 0 only, not the value that you pass through the constructor. It will still be 0, even if you pass the value through the constructor. Right? So to avoid that, to tell that this is instance variable, okay. So if you say this dot, it indicates that this is, you are referring to the variable that is inside the object. Okay, this is actually a hidden reference variable that is created. Okay, we'll see that. I don't think we have time for that, but if time permits, we will see that. Okay, so this dot day. So if I'm saying I'm storing the local variable inside my instance variable, now the confusion is gone. That is why the warning is also gone. Okay, so now I want to put values. Now whenever you have programming languages, where you always say the variables are kept as private. Okay, that is what is one of the OOPS concept, object oriented principles, which is known as encapsulation. Okay, so every data that you have inside the class, you keep it as private. Okay, and if you want to access those variables, values of those variables, you have to access via what is known as methods or functions. Okay, so I'll just create one for day. Okay, public. Okay, so that method can be accessed in any package. A method always, if I'm asking for the day's value, so it is returning me a value. What is day's data type? Int. So this will also be int. Okay, and the nomenclature for recreating a getter style method is I want to get the value of which variable? Day. So D capital. Okay, method names in Java are camel casing. Okay, camel casing means small and then capital. Like camel has a small hump and a big hump. Na? Most camels have. So similarly, it is known as camel casing. So in this get day, I'm going to return back the day value. Return back the day value. Okay. So similarly, you can create getters for month and year also, but you don't have to go in that much detail for Java. Already, all you have to do is right click. Okay. So similarly, if suppose somebody wants to change the day variable, can it change from outside the class? No, because private variable can only be used within the class, not outside the class. So if you want to change the day variable, how can you change it? You need another method for that. Okay. So public, to change it, you're putting value, you're not asking for a value. So obviously the return type will be void only. Then set followed by day. Okay. Set followed by the variable that you want to set. You can give any name. I'm not telling you it should be set day, but that is what is the nomenclature followed internationally. Okay, so you can definitely follow it. I'll show you why exactly nomenclature, because you can auto generate these methods. Okay, so that's simple enough. So if I'm putting setter, so I'm going to put a value, right? So I need to pass a parameter. In today, I'm passing a parameter. So I'm telling this day, which I passed as a parameter, should go inside which variable? This day. Okay, so that means this is instance variable now. So to avoid the confusion, what should I do? To tell that this is the variable that is there inside the object, I'm going to do what? This dot. Okay, this dot day equal to day. Right? So I only did for day, but it is always recommended. See, if you want to later change in future, if you want to change the month also, then you need for month and year also. So I'm going to right click, source, generate getters and setters. There is an option here. So which are the, I already did for day, so it is not detecting for day. Month and year, it is definitely detecting. So I'll just click, see, you can see here it is getters and setters. Okay, that's why I'm telling follow international nomenclature, because there are a lot of shortcuts for that. Okay, so select all. Okay, so if you had given some other name for this getter, then it would have detected that you do not have a getter for your day. I understand, even though I already wrote for day. Okay, so it is good to follow the nomenclature. Fine. Okay, now there is a particular way. I'm not sure whether I want to discuss this with you right now, but some of you might have seen there is a display method to display the value of day, month, and year. Okay, so if you want to use that display method, you can go ahead and use it. There is no problem. Okay, but in Java, there is a special type of method. Okay, that method is what is known as toString method. Okay, toString method. Okay, but that will go in detail, because to explain properly toString, what is happening in the object class, because toString calls hash code method, to explain that it will take me more than an hour in itself. Okay, more than an hour, maybe 1.5 hours. Okay, but for that purpose, I'm going to show you display method itself. Okay, so I'm going to have display. Of course, I will show you the toString, but at this level, it might be too complicated for you. Okay, so that's why I'm not explaining that right now. Okay, I'll show you the difference also. Don't worry. Okay, so I'm telling in the display method, I'm telling I want to display the day, month, and year. Okay, so what should I do in Java? If you want to print something to the console, you use what is known as a system class. Okay, system.out.println. This is how you write. Okay, but if you want to write the whole thing, you don't have to, because we are using IDE editor we are using. So there is already a shortcut. You just need to write control sysout. Just write sysout control space. I'll repeat. Just write sysout control space. If you want, you can also write sout. That is also shortcut. No issue. Sout control space. Okay, and inside that I'm telling whatever goes to the console should be in the form of string, because console is actually what internally it is a text box. Okay, so text box always accepts what? A string value, right? So I'm going to say date is, okay, and then I'm going to append. Why? This is string, but I want the variable value now. So day followed by, I want / as such, so it is going to come in quotes, because whatever goes to the console is in string. Okay, and plus, why I need month plus, because that I'm taking from a variable, so I'm going to append with the variable value month, because that's the Java code. Okay, and plus, okay, over here plus I want / and then I want year also. Okay, / and then I want in. Ma'am, y plus. Okay, AK is asking y plus. Okay, see, if I write here just like this day, if I write here just like this day, what happens? It will come date is day. It will come as a string. It is not going to take the value of the variable. Are you understanding? Because whatever is written in quotes will come as such. Okay, it's not going to take any value from any variable. But I don't want like written like that now. I want the value of the variable that is given over here. This variable. इस वेरिएबल के अंदर जो वैल्यू है वो मुझे प्रिंट करना है. Understanding? So we are going to go ahead and tell plus to indicate this is something that I want to append along with this string. Okay, this variable, you see this is blue color, right? This is blue color. This is telling that it is coming from here. It's the same as you writing this dot day. It's the same. Why I did not prefix with this dot day is because by default, if you use an instance variable directly in another instance method, this is an instance method. Anything that is not static is what you call as instance method. Okay, so if you write an instance method, this is also a method that is residing within the object. Okay, then in that case, you do not have to prefix with this. If you using an instance variable directly inside an instance method, you can use it directly. There is no need to prefix with this. Okay, it automatically, when the code is being compiled now, that time itself it gets prefixed with this automatically. You don't have to do it. So you might ask me a doubt, then why did we do it here? Understanding, why did we do it here? We did it here to avoid that confusion, because there is a local variable and an instance variable which are having same name. If you didn't have same name, imagine it was y here, then you didn't have to prefix with this. Are you understanding? For that reason there I used this. Okay, so let me just show you. In this case, did I use this? No, but still it is a variable that is residing within the object. Here there is no confusion here. Understanding? I didn't pass any parameter, so I didn't have to prefix with this. Are you understanding? Okay, so what I'm telling is that object के अंदर जो variable, whichever variable is there, वो variable का value मुझे चाहिए. Understanding? So that is why I'm saying I'm appending with they. Are you getting, Gaurav? Gaurav is asking me, ma'am, in C++, this pointer concept is there. Is it same in Java too? Yes, it is a hidden pointer. It's the same. Okay. But I have noticed many people in C++ also prefixing in this unnecessarily when it is not needed also. Like in these cases, it is absolutely not necessary to prefix with this. Still people prefix it. It is not needed. Okay. It's an auto prefix that happens. Right. So I'm going to, we created our date class. So only one single template I need to do. Okay, and that we created. Okay. Now I'm going to save the file. See, if ever you make any changes, like for example, I press yes, and you see a star on top. You see there's a star over here. It means that you have not saved your file. You have to go ahead and save it. So I'm going to do Control S, and I'm saving my particular file. Now I'm going to see. I told you, can I run this program? Can I run this program? Right click. How do I run? Right click, run as. There is an option, which option that comes called as Java application. But that option is not coming for me also. Understanding? Why? Because in Java, whenever you want to run a particular program, there is an entry point that you should specify from where to start. Yes, all of you are right. There is a main method. Okay. So I need that main method. Now the question is, can I write that main method over here itself? Yes, technically and practically possible, you can write. There is no problem of you writing the main method over here. Okay, entry point over here, and then you can call whatever you want. You want to call display or whatever you want to call, you can do. But you should understand Java is following what is known as OOPS concept. And as per OOPS concept, you do not run a date. Do you run birth date? Do you run joining date? No, you use date class. Are you understanding? If you are a person, you are going to use date as your date of birth. If you're a person, you're going to use date as your date of joining. Are you understanding? You do not run date. So for all practical purpose, do not run main methods in entities like date, person, employee. Understanding? You do not write main method there. If you are a student, don't write main method in student class. You should write student where the student is being used in that application. Yes, Rahul is correct, in client code. Okay. So in that particular code, you have to write the main method. Okay. Like for example, student here. So if as we are ISSB, so if you are a student of ISSB, ISSD is the application that has to be run, which is going to have an array of students. Understanding? So the main method should reside where? In the application that is using the entities. So if you are an employee, you should be, if suppose you are an employee of IBM, then IBM is the application that you are creating and you are the part of that particular application. Understanding? So you do not write main method here. Of course, programmatically possible here, but obviously you should follow programming practices. So I'm going to create a separate client code. Okay. So in this, since we are learning about pass by value and pass by reference, I will call the client code as pass by value. Okay. So I'll call it as pass by value client. Okay. So generally you call it as client code or you call it as tester as the one where the main method is residing. Okay. So you can check main method over here if you want, or you can type it on your own. So I'm going to type it on my own, and this is your client code. Okay. So notice I'm going to write my main method, which is my entry point. So I'm not going into the detail of how main method is public, static, void, queue hai, all that stuff is there. Okay, but we will not go into that much this thing. So we'll just see the how exactly. So if you want to create a main method, shortcut is there in Eclipse. So every IDE may have a different shortcut. So you whatever comfortable you are, because some of them like IntelliJ you write PSVM, understand, and then you do control space. But in here in STS and in Eclipse you just write main and then just press control space and enter. Okay, let me repeat. I'm going to write main, MAIN, control space and just press enter. Are you understanding? So this is my entry point. So I start my execution from this particular function. Okay, and in this function, if I run this code, can I run this code? Yes, definitely. Why not? Run as Java application. Okay, but no output will be shown because what? There is nothing inside the main method. Okay, so if I want to create a date class, okay, I need to create an object of date class, put values inside the date, and I want to print the date. Is that possible? Yes. How do I do it? Okay, So to create an object, we have new keyword date. This is how you create an object. Okay. Now, just by you passing, see, this is calling constructor. But what happens? Is there a constructor like that over here? No. Now you might tell me default constructor should have been given by compiler. But whenever your class already has a parameterized constructor, your compiler will not give you a default constructor. I told you default constructor is a constructor that initializes the values to 0. But what will compiler tell you? You already have a parameterized constructor which is taking values. Then why should I give you one? Understanding? That is why this error is coming here. Okay. So it will say that it's asking for default constructor, but you never get the default constructor because you already have a parameterized constructor. So it's expecting you to pass values, day, month, and year. So I will pass values. Okay. So what will I do? I will pass values. So what is the value that I pass? 2, 3, say 2020. I'm passing. Okay. So now my object is created. Now tell me, is my object created? Yes or no? Those who are there, please respond in the chat. Is my object created? Yes, yes. Some of you are telling no. Yes, some of you are saying. Okay. The answer is the object is not created. Are you understanding? So most people think that new operator followed by constructor means object should be created. Objects are created at what time? Yes, Abhinav is correct. No, unless you run the program. Are you understanding? Yes, very good. See, just you writing this in English or in Java is not going to create an object. When is an object created? At runtime. That means when I run this application, only then my interpreter will run the code line by line. When it sees the new operator, it will assign memory in the heap. Understanding? Only at that time memory is being allocated. That is when the actual object is being created. Not just you writing it like this. Okay. So right now I created an object. So let's assume that we did run it. Okay. Let's assume that we did run it. So in that case, what happens? There is a heap space wherein that particular object will be created. So this is dates object. Okay. So tell me what are the variables that will be there? Day. Okay. What is the value that I pass through? 2, 3, and 2020. So this will become 2. Month. This will become 3. Remember, those variables are going in the instance variables. This dot day, this dot month, right? So year is equal to 2020. Fine. Now, over here, just because you created objects, you cannot access values inside that. Why? Because how do you know in memory at what location that particular object got created? How do you know that? Right? Now, everybody says that Java does not support pointers. Java does not support pointers. Okay. As such, that particular line is wrong. Okay. Why would I say that line is wrong? That Java does not support pointers is because there is not a single programming language in the whole world that does not use pointers. What does a program do? It reads and writes from memory. And if you want to read and write from memory, what happens? You need to require pointer. You need to know where exactly in memory. And to specify a particular memory address, what do you need? Pointer is what you need. So there is no programming language in the whole world that does not use pointers. Internally, every programming language uses pointer. Okay, internally, every programming language uses pointer. So I need to know this address. Suppose this is stored in 100 location. I need to know this address so that I can start reading this 2, 3, and 2020 and display. This is the date that you created. Understanding? So if this is an address, remember, if those who know, I assume most of you know C. So inside that, what will you learn? Anju is asking, before class you should use public. What happened when we put default? See, default is not a keyword as such, except in switch case. Lack of access specifier in Java is what you call as default. Okay, Anju, can we wait for that question towards the end? Otherwise, we lose the flow of the webinar. Please do ask me towards the end and remind me. Okay, I will explain that to you. Okay, Anju. Okay, fine. So over here, I put 100. Okay, so this is the address where it is being created. So in my program, I need to access this location. In my program, I need to access this location. So what am I going to do is that this is a method, right? Main is a method. This is a method, right? So in Java, every method has a stack. Okay, right now I'm telling you every method, but that is wrong. It is every thread that has a stack. but you might get confused with multi-threading and all, which of course we are not covering that. So you might get confused. So that's why I'm not introducing that topic right now, so that you do not get confused. Just imagine that every method has a stack. Okay, so there is a stack for the main method that is created. So I hope some of you know data structure, and there is a stack of books types. Okay, so there is a stack that is creating, which is another memory location, and in the main method you have to create a variable that is going to store this address. So you have to create a variable here that is going to store this particular address. Okay. So now tell me, a variable that stores an address, what is that variable called? Tell me in chat. A variable that stores an address location. Yes, Namrata is right. It is reference in Java, but normally what is it called? Pointer, right? You learned in C that a variable that stores an address is what is known as pointer. That is correct. But see, if I am telling you, if suppose there is a library, okay, अभी आपने library से एक book borrow किया, you took one book from the library, okay, what do you call that book? You call that book as a reference book. Why you call that book as a reference book is because you can only read from that book. You cannot scribble on the book or do any alterations to the book. Are you understanding? But if you had gone to a shop and you bought your own book, is that a reference book for you? No, you can scribble, you can draw, you can do whatever you want. So this is what, this is pointer. Okay, that means it also holds the address of the memory, but on pointer you can definitely do arithmetic operations. I can do pointer if I'm creating a pointer, integer pointer, okay, ptr. I can do ptr plus plus. I can do ptr minus minus. Arithmetic operations are perfectly fine. Understanding? That means you can scribble on it, do whatever you want with that pointer. You have the actual address with you. But if you have a reference with you, what do? You cannot do any operations on it. Understanding? No operations are supported on top of it. That is what you call it as a reference variable. So in Java, it is more secure. Why? Because you do not have the directly, you can never see the address of where an object is created. In C, CPP, you can definitely see because it's direct memory access using pointers, right? But in Java, if somebody was trying to hack the memory, not possible programmatically. Not possible programmatically. Why? Because what you get is only a reference to which you cannot do, you cannot even display the D. I will tell you system.out.println. If I were to see D, you will not get the actual address. Are you understanding? Of course, we will display this. This is where the toString method will be coming into the picture. Okay, try to cover as much as possible during the webinar. Okay, but due to shortage of time, I might have to limit how much knowledge I can share. Okay, so just understand. See, even if I were to try to print this variable, you will never get the actual address. Okay, even if I were to do D++, operation not supported, D minus minus, operation not supported. So hence this variable that you created is not a pointer. Are you understanding? A pointer, you can actually see the address. Pointer, you can actually do plus plus, you can do minus minus, you can do operations. So in Java, when you say Java does not support pointers, that statement is wrong. What does it do? Java doesn't support programmatic access to pointers. That's the correct this thing. Okay, programmatic access to pointers. When I say programmatic access to pointer means what? What it is creating is only a reference in which you can use it. You can't even see the value of it. You can use it to access 2, 3, and 2020. Whatever is there inside the object, you can use it to access it. But you cannot see even what is the value inside D, nor can you see what increment and decrement and perform operations on it. That is what I'm meaning by no programmatic access to pointers. Okay, so when I say D is equal to 100, okay, I want to access this 2, 3, and 2020. Is it the concept of encapsulation, Rishikesh? No, that is a different concept, Rishikesh. It has nothing to do with this. Okay, it is the concept of security which is given in Java. One concept of security. Okay, so if I want to access this 2, 3, and 2020, how do I access? Okay, now notice these variables are what? Private. That means only within the class I can use. Outside class I cannot use. But where am I? Where is my main method in client code? So can I access this day, month, and year private? No. Okay. Yes. Is my video on? Please, if there is any participant who is having video on, okay, please off it. It's disturbing some of them. Okay. Okay. So over here, if I'm having D, I'm going to try to access it. So I cannot access these variables directly because my main method is where in client code and it is a separate class. These variables are what? Private. But you do have what methods? Yes. Get day, get month, get year. These methods are there with you, right? Inside your object, right? These are what? These happen to be what? Public. These methods are what? Public. So using these public methods, you can definitely access. Understanding. Sritam, you cannot access by using class name because these are not static methods. If you are using instance method, you have to go through the object that is using the reference variable. Okay. So I'm going to access it right now. So for me, just creating the object you cannot access. So you need that address. So for that, I'm writing date d equal to. So this is that local variable. How do I know this is local variable? Because this is its data type and that data type is within the method. So this is a local variable that is pushed into the main method's stack. Okay, and which actually does contain the address. But if I try to print it, I will never get the address. Okay, and nor can I put d++, and these are operations are not allowed. I'm understanding. It will give you an error. Normal pointer, if it was, you can definitely do those operations. Now, how do I access this? D, you are going to use an operator called as dot operator, right? Using that, I can call the method. So you see, it is still showing you what and all are the public methods that is available. So I can call get day, and if you try to print, I can print out the day. Okay, but is it only day that you want? No, you want the entire thing, na? Date is karke, you want the whole thing. Okay, so you already have a display method with you, na? We already created a display method which is anyway printing the day, month, and year. So just call that. Okay, d dot display. Okay, so over here I'm going to right click, run as Java application. So what happened? The format that you have mentioned inside your display, in that format you are getting the date as the output. Yes or no? Yes. Imagine if you didn't want to use display. Okay, so those who want to know, sysout, I didn't use display. So I'm just going to write date is, and then I'm writing d dot get day, because I cannot call day directly because that's private variable, plus / same format how we did in display, but this time it's not the variable directly. Okay, so plus what else you want? D dot get year, plus what else you want? Oh, sorry, first will come month. You can do control space, it will give you IntelliSense. Okay, so get month followed by / plus I'll write in the next line d dot get year. You understanding? See, I'm not going completely in depth. Okay, so basically we have a curriculum to finish. That's why we will not. Okay, but if you want to know in more detail, of course there's a course that is available. But right now, just see. If I'm hoping you're understanding, right? You can write either like this, or you can call the display method which you already wrote. Both are going to give you the exact same output. Okay, so right click and Java application. See, it's going to give you the exact same output. That's up to you how you want to do. Okay, but what is it, the reason why you have a display method? Because you only need to write it one time. Every time you don't have to write like this sysout operations. Okay, so preferably it is a display method. Okay, now we want to learn pass by value. So for that, I'm going to create another date object. So date d1 equal to new date. Okay, let me pass another day values. So 3, 4, 1988. Let's imagine. Okay, so I created another object in heap. How do I know I created another object? Because another new operator. You understanding? There is another new operator. That means another object is created on the heap. There is another local reference variable that is created in the main method stack. So what is it in memory? There is another object that is created inside the heap called as date. Suppose this one is somewhere in memory as 200 location. Okay, it's just an assumption because addresses are hexadecimal values. For representation, I'm just showing it as integer. Okay, for easy sake. Now over here 3, 4, and 1988. So there will be day, month, and year. Instance variable means for every object, per object, there is a copy. Okay, so you have in this 3, 4, 1988. So 3, 4, 1988. Plus left hand side, what is it? This is a local variable. How do I know it's a local variable? Its data type is within the method. So it's local to which method? Main method. So D1 is variable pushed into the stack of main method. Inside that, it is having which address? 200 address. So this is what you created just right now. Okay. And now I want to see this particular date possible. Yes, D.display. So it's not D, it's D1 because I want the next object. No, that is the reference to that object. D1.display. Fine. Then let me run this. Right click, run as Java application, and you see I'm printing out both the dates. Fine. Okay, fine. Now I printed out both the dates. Now I want to do pass by value and pass by reference. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to display it here. Okay, so I created two date objects inside my heap. Okay, assuming it notice it only occurs after I run the program. Okay, so the memory map that I'm drawing, all the memory is created only after I run the program. Okay, not before. Okay, now I'm going to print out sysout dates before swapping. Okay, dates before swapping I'm printing out, and I'm telling first my day is d1.display. Okay, then my second day is plus. I'll give a little space so that I can get to understand. Okay. Okay, now see, in this case it is showing me an error. Why is it showing me an error? Because display, what is the return type of display? If you see, what is the return type of display? Void. I'm understanding. Only if you're returning a particular value can you concatenate it with string. Are you understanding? Can you concatenate it with string? Only if you're returning a particular value can you concatenate it with string. Okay, so in this case you have to do that separate d1.display and d2.display if you want. Okay, because its return type is void. So in this case it's going to give me an error because there's nothing to concatenate. That's what it's telling. Okay, so for this sake, this is where I will try to introduce the toString method, which is going to be easy. Okay, so instead of this display, I'm going to use a method which is known as toString method. Okay, so we may not go into complete detail of it because it's a little advanced concept. Not advanced, but in that case I have to explain hash code, everything. Okay, memory counter, address ka part and all that. Okay, so let's just see. Okay, so I'm going to right click, source, generate toString. There is a method called as toString. Okay, it is so frequently used in Java that it is auto generated, right? So I'm going to click on that. So if I see select all, it's already selected, and then it just click generate. So you see this, whatever is there in your display, day, month, and year printing is exactly that is coming over here. Okay, but it is just returning the value. In this case, what is the return type? String. In this case, what is the return type? Void. Okay, so I'm just going to use this toString because this toString method returns me back what? String. Now, if I were to call the toString method, this toString method over here, okay, d1 dot, I'm going to call the toString method. Okay, d1 dot toString. It gives me back a string in that same format, day, month, and year. If you wanted, you could have just taken this and changed here also to string and returned it like this. Okay, for display also it would have worked. Okay, and I'm going to use the auto generated one, which is given by Eclipse itself. So I'll give a space. This is my day one. So this is D1. Okay, and my D2, which is the second date. I'll write it next slide. So this is my D2, which will be D1 dot toString. Okay, so I'll show you what is the benefit about toString. Okay, so this is D and this is D1. Fine. Now for pass by value, I'm going to pass this D1 and D2 to another method called a swap. Okay, so I'm having a swap method. Through that particular method, I'm going to pass D1 and D2 as parameter. Now you see this. I'll just rename it as D1 and D2 so that you do not get confused. I'm getting confused. That's it. Okay, D1 and then this will be D2. Right? So this is D1 and D2. So I need to create this particular method. Okay. So for that, notice this method is static. Okay. So I'm not going to go into detail of why it is static because so that I cannot I can access it without creation of object. That's the meaning. Okay, but we'll just see this. So a static method can call another static method directly. That's how I'm calling it directly here. This is a call to a method called a swap. So this, it's giving me an option, create a method called swap, which takes date and date as a parameter. Okay, so I'm creating a particular method called a swap. This particular method will be created. Okay, so let me just try to explain the concept of static little bit if you people are getting confused. Okay, so you see, this is one person. Okay, this is another person. Okay, so I am having person class called as person. Okay, so imagine a person has a bottle. Okay, int bottle. Okay, so I know it should be initialized by using constructor, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to tell 100% it is filled, that bottle. So this person, instance variable, this is instance variable. So instance variable matlab residing with the objects. That means if I create a person object, that person will have a bottle which is 100% full. This person will also have a bottle which is instance variable which is 100% full. Yes or no? Yes. Now imagine this person was drinking from this water bottle. His water bottle he was drinking. So let's imagine he was drinking some amount. So he drank half of his water. Okay, he drank half of his water. Does it mean that this person's water is going to get affected? No, because this is completely different memory allocation. This is also completely different memory allocation. If I'm telling I'm changing your age, does it mean that somebody else's age will change? No. These are known as instance variable, that is residing only within that particular object only. Okay, it's specific to this particular object, that memory allocation. But instead of this, if I were to make this particular variable as static, then in that case, what happens? Right? So I'm going to remove this. This person does not have a bottle that is specific to only him. Okay. So I'm going to tell that it's like you, if you are in a class, you have a water cooler, right? So you have a water cooler. You cannot tell that water cooler belongs to you. It belongs to the institute, right? So it's like it belongs to the class. Static variable is what belongs to the class. It is not specific to a particular object. Are you understanding? So if I'm saying this is the bottle, okay, so this is like it's a common bottle that is meant for all objects. So this person, if I'm drinking one glass, suppose this is 100% full, okay, 100% full. This person drank one glass of water from that shared this thing. I drank one glass. Okay, let's imagine this is one glass. Okay, so obviously that change is reflected even for who? This object too, because this is shared memory space. No? Are you understanding? So static variables are assigned not within heap. They are not specific to an object. Its memory allocation is within method area. Remember, I told you that dot class file is loaded in a memory area which is known as method area. Huh? In that binary code itself, static variables are initialized. Understanding? As such, binary data may static variables are initialized. Who does that at the time of class loading itself? Static variables are initialized by using static block. That I'm not going to go into much details about that, but just understand. Static means you do not need object. You can directly use the class name because it belongs to the class. Okay, so I can actually call like this person dot bottle using the class name. Understanding? I don't need to create object like this. New person P equal to new P dot bottle. I don't have to access like this. Of course, you can access. This is going to give you a warning. Okay, it is not an error. It is going to give you a warning. So it's no compiler error is not there. It's going to give you a warning that a static variable has to be accessed a static way. What is a static way? By using class name. Okay, so you just understand that static variables and methods are something that is common to all for the entire class. It is not specific to a particular object. Okay, so uh, of course, we are not going into much detail about that, but you will get a clearer picture later on. Okay, so you see this static method is calling another static method directly, no problem. Okay, imagine if this particular method was not static. Imagine if the swap method was not static, then you can't call it directly like this. Why? Because main method is what? It is not in heap, right? It is not, cannot be invoked directly. So what should I do? I should create object. This is non-static method. You remember? Here, you remember we created get day, get month, get year, which is inside the object. Similarly, now the swap is inside the object. So if I want to access this method, I should create object of which class? This class. This method is now inside which class? This class. So if I create object of this class, then only I can access this particular method, because this is no longer a static method. So I can access it like this: p equal to new, like this, and then I can write p dot swap d1 and d2. It's up to you how you want to access. Okay, either you create object and access it, then this will not be static, or I make this a static. Okay, I make it a static, so it's going to tell me you can access it in a static way. I told you there is no error, it is only a warning that is coming. So this is that warning. So through object, if you're accessing static method, it's not going to give you a warning. It's like or as if you're telling I'm going to use this variable. Of course you can use it. It is shared memory, right? You can use it, no issue. But you cannot tell that it is your own. Are you understanding? Using that particular shared water bottle and telling that shared water bottle is your own are completely two different concepts. Okay, so you cannot tell that it is your own. Okay, so that's what I'm telling over here. See, you can use it by using dot operator. You're using the method. That is true, but it is definitely giving you a warning, telling that the static method should be accessed in a static way, in the sense that you should access it by using either class name dot operator or directly. Okay, directly, why? Because both are in the same class. So I don't have to prefix with class name dot operator. Even if you do prefix, it is not a problem. Okay, even if you do prefix, this should not be a problem. You can do. Okay, but since they both are in the same class, you don't even have to prefix with class name. Okay, so we have d1 and d2. Now I'm assuming that most of you know how to swap d1 and d2 by using a temporary variable. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to swap d1 and d2 by using a temporary variable. Now you see, d1 is of what type? Date type. So my temporary variable should be also of what type? Date type, right? Date, temporary variable. Okay, don't worry if you're getting confused now, because I'm going to draw the entire memory diagram for you. Okay, so 10, yes, very good, Abhinav, right? So d1, whatever inside, what should you do? Can you tell me what are the steps that I should do? Abhinav mentioned one, is that right? Can you tell me how do I swap using t1 equal to t2 using a third variable? Okay, in temp I'm going to store d1, is this correct? Okay, and in d1 I'm going to store d2. Okay, and in d2 I'm going to store temp, is this correct? Yes, Rushikesh is telling yes. Yes. Okay, very good. Very okay. See, so using a third variable, I'm going to swap it. Okay. Now, after swapping, obviously I will come back. I called here, right? So I'll come back in this particular location itself, and then I'm going to print. So I'm going to copy this code, and I'm going to print it here, and I'm going to say dates after swapping. After swapping. Right? Now let me print. Now tell me, will it be swapped or will it not be swapped? Will it be swapped or not swapped? Please mention in chat. Swapped. Devyani is telling swapped. Draco is telling no. Okay. Varsha is telling not swapped, not swapped. Very good. Okay. So it is not swapped. So it's run as Java application and it is not swapped. Okay. Now the question is why it didn't get swapped. Okay. Some of you might know that if I had written the system.out.println, instead of in the main method, if I had written, okay, if I had written it inside the swap method itself, okay, if I had written it inside the swap method itself, obviously the swap would have happened, right? It would have happened, but I have not done that. Okay, so obviously, okay. So I wanted to explain why exactly this didn't get swapped. Okay, so we're going to go line by line. Okay, first line, main method is being called. Okay, so main method has a stack of its own. Okay, I'll just call this as a stack area, whatever. Okay, inside that I'm having the stack for main method. Okay, and inside that stack, what happens on the right hand side? Object is being created. Objects are created in which memory? Not in stack. It is dynamically created at runtime in heap memory, right? So heap memory is a special memory area in which objects are created, which is part of the JVM itself. So inside this, I'll call this as a heap area, heap space. Inside this, an object is created of date. Okay, data object is created. Suppose this is 100 location. Location of this date is 100. Okay, so what is the value? 2/3/2020. So it is 2/3/2020. Okay, I'm assuming you know this is day, month, and year. Okay, I'm just writing shortcut day, month, and year. Okay, okay. Then left hand side date D1. This is reference variable that is local. Local means the data type is right inside the main method. So I'm going to push it inside the main method stack D1. Okay, so D1 is having what value? This one's address location. Okay, so this will become equal to 100. Fine. Now next line. Same, repeat. Another object is created. How another object? New keyword. So yeah, another object will be created wherein you will have day, month, and year. What is the value? 3, 4, and 1988. Okay, 3, 4, 1988. Fine. Now suppose this memory address is 200. Fine. So this is also another date object that is being created. And as usual on the left hand side, D2 is another local reference variable. So it has to be pushed into the stack of main method. Why? Because it is inside main, local to main. Okay. So D2 is coming as 200. Fine. Now, next statement. What is the next statement? I'm printing out D1's toString and D2's toString, and I'm printing out the date. So I got the first line that is here. Okay. So toString is also a method that is residing here. Your toString is also there. Just like your display is also there. Okay. On display we commented out. Okay. If I get time, I'll explain to you toString also. Okay. If I get time. Right. Over here. Now I'm calling swap method. Now I told you that every thread in Java has a stack of its own. Now when a thread like main is calling another method, it is part of this thread only. Okay. It is not going to create another stack separate for swap. This method is being called by main method. So you create what is known as a stack frame. Okay, you create what is known as a stack frame. That means one portion of the main stack is specific just for swap method. Okay, it is not going to have a separate stack of its own. Okay, because it is not a thread. Okay, I don't want to go into detail of what is a thread and all that. It's an entire chapter on its own. Okay, so main method is a entry point, and the main method is calling swap. So this is what is called as a stack frame. Okay, one part of the main frame. Okay, stack frame. Okay, now I called swap method. What did I pass through the swap method? D1 and D2. So D1 and D2. Okay, now swap method is coming here. Now tell me, this D1 and D2, are they local variables? This D1 and D2, are they local variables? Yes or no? Please write in chat, are they local variable? Yes, because its data type is right inside the method itself. Declaration is there itself. Yes, these are local variables. But to which method? Swap method. Okay, so I'm inside swap method, there will be another copy of D1, another copy of D2 that is being created. Understanding? So if you are passing 100 here, D1 is 100, this 100 will be get copied into this new variable called as D1, which is part of swap. Right? So if this D1 is 100, that is being passed here, right? So this will also be 100 and this will become 200. Right? Now, what about this? Temporary variable. Okay, so if your data type is of type any type of user defined class, by default your variable will get the value as null. Okay, by default you will get the value as null. So in this case it is giving value as null, but this is a local variable now because its declaration is within the method. So this is a local variable. So there is another variable which is called as temp. Okay, initially temp ka value is null. Okay, now see, D1 value I'm storing inside temp. What is D1 value? This value. I'm storing it inside temp. So this will become 100. Okay. Notice I'm still dealing with local variables, these two. Brown color means local variables. Blue color means, in this case, local only, because I have not created instance variable over here. Okay, so these are D1 and D2, which is inside the scope. Now, second line, D2 I'm storing in D1. So D2 I'm storing in D1. What is D2 value? 200. I'm storing it inside D1. So this will become 200. Now, next line, temp I'm storing in D2. Temp I'm storing in D2. So temp value I'm storing inside D2. So this will become 100. Now tell me, 200 is pointing here. 100 is pointing here. Did they get swapped? Yes. But where did the swap happen? Only within the stack frame, which is local. That memory of swapping happened where? Within the swap method. And when the swap method got over, this is end of call of that particular method. So when a particular method gets over, its stack is pushed or popped. Okay, it's popped out from memory. So even though you made the swap within the swap method, what happens when it goes back to the main method? It is popped. So this entire memory of swapping is lost from the memory. Okay, now you're back to which D1 and D2? Main methods, D1 and D2 only you have. Right? So if you go over here and you print out D1 and D2, what is it referring to? It is referring to the D1 and D2, which is part of main method only. Understanding? So this entire memory is lost. So if I print D1, it is still what? 2, 3, 2020. If I print D2, it is still what? 3, 4, and 1988. And that is why the swap didn't happen. But if you try to print it within the swap method, what happens? That time memory is still there. The stack did not pop yet. That time if you print, it will definitely give you swap value. Okay, so what do you mean by pass by value? It is a copy that is there. Like for example, if I were to give you an example, like original documents आपके पास है, certificates. You have your original certificates. अभी original certificate में nobody is going to scribble and do anything, right? You will take what? A Xerox. A copy is what you do. अभी वो Xerox के ऊपर if you do scribble or do anything, is it going to affect the original data in any way? No. Okay, so similarly, in this case, you did what and all changes, but that is not going to affect the original data in any way. Okay, because this is happening in a separate stack frame, which is part of the main stack. Right? These sometimes people call it as stack frame, or sometimes people call it as activation record. Okay, fine. So let me just ask sir if we do have time further. Sir, do we have time further? Keshav sir? Keshav sir, Prashant sir, Karan sir. Okay, okay. So we'll have 5 more minutes. So I think I'll try to explain to you pass by reference. Okay. Now this is my pass by value. Similarly, I'm going to create another class which is called as pass by reference. So I'm going to create a new class called as pass by reference. Okay. So even though in the agenda of the webinar I did mention pass by reference, in Java there is no concept called as pass by reference. Okay. There is no concept called as pass by reference, and that's what I'm going to explain to you now. Why not? Okay. So if I'm having pass by reference, the same thing which we wrote in pass by value, we want to write. But this time I'm going to use an array. Okay. This time I'm going to use an array. Okay. So in Java, array, whether I use new keyword or don't use new keyword, object is always created inside heap memory. Array memory is always created in heap memory. So I'm going to create an array of dates. Okay. Date array. Okay. DARR. I'm going to give it a name equal to new. Okay. So new is always followed by constructor, right? Generally to create an object. But am I creating object? Am I creating date ka object? No, I am creating date ka array. Okay. I'm creating an array. So notice, do not write like this. Okay. Don't pass values here 2, 3, comma like that. I'm not creating an object of date in heap. I'm creating an object of an array that will contain dates. Okay, so this is not circular brackets. So if it's an array, what do you need? Size. So it's square bracket I'm mentioning that I need 2 dates inside this. Are you understanding? So I'm going to create an array of dates. Now, of course, some of you might be confused. Keep pass by reference for that. Why do I need to create array? Can I do it without array? Yes, it is possible, even without using this. Nikhil is asking, ma'am, without using third variable swapping nahi ho sakta hai? Of course you can do. Okay, there's a concept. You just subtract the two values and then you add the two values. That will also give you a swap value. Okay, so that is generally asked during interviews also, Nikhil. Okay, fine. So this is going to create a date object inside the heap. Okay, so if I'll just take a snapshot. Okay. Okay, so this is actually going to create. Okay, this is actually going to create an array inside heap. Okay, which is having two size, na, 0 and 1. So maybe this array is somewhere in memory, somewhere at 100 location or something. Okay, so this will point to actual date objects. Okay, so this is that array that is being created. So in this, we have that array that is created. So inside that, what can you store? Array is homogeneous elements. Only date types you can store. So I'm going to create two date types. So DARR of 0th location. In the first location of the array, I'm going to create an actual date object. I'm going to make it point to an actual date object. So how do you create an actual date object? New followed by constructor. This time it is circular bracket, right? So 2/3/2020. Okay, this time it's the actual object. Okay, now DARR of one location. In the first location, I'm going to write new date, and then I'm going to pass the values 3, 4, say 2020. Fine. Now, once I create this, now what I want to do is that I want to pass this array. So before swapping and after swapping, I want to print the values. So let me print the values. This out. Okay. We can use loop in this. Yes, if you want. But this is just two size. That's why I just directly wrote it. But if you're using loop, then in that case, what happens? Each time you have to take from user. So you can use scanner and take it because each time you want different values. No? Okay. Then in this case, I'm telling date before swapping. Okay, so I'll just write it as before. Okay. So notice, tell me where is the actual object? Where is the actual object? Is in DARR of 0. So I'm going to write DARR of 0th location. Okay, in that has the actual object in it. Okay, using that dot operator to string. Understanding? So it's like I wrote it in one single line. Plus, I'm going to give a space and then I'm writing DARR of 1. That is the first location. Inside that, I'm going to write toString method. Okay. So I printed the date before swapping and then now I want to swap. So I'm going to call the swap method. And in the swap method, I'm going to pass the array. Okay. So I'm going to pass DARR. Swap DARR. And then what I'm going to do, I'll just print out date after swapping. So I'll just copy this. No. So as usual, static method can call static method directly. So I'm going to call that particular method directly. Okay. Without even creation of object. Now, what do you have with you? You have your array. Okay. So notice inside the array, what is it? Objects. Inside the array, it is objects, right? So I want to swap the objects amongst each other, the array. Okay. So what should I do? Can you tell me my temporary variable will be of what type? Date, because I'm going to actually swap D1 and D2, which is inside the array. Okay. So now tell me, same thing, that logic you did over here, same logic. Okay. So we're going to copy this, same logic. But now tell me, do we have D1 and D2? Do we have here D1 and D2 local variables? No. But what do we have? In the array, DARR 0th location. That will give you the first object. Okay. So this will give you DARR of 1. That is in the array, the second one. Okay. So DARR of 0. Anju is asking, ma'am, what is the use of static function in Java? I'll explain. Okay. Static function, like for example, if you want to calculate interest rate. Okay. If you change interest rate calculation in a particular method, You don't want that interest rate for savings account should be different for different people. Savings account, even if you have 100 customers, everybody's savings account, if I'm saying the interest rate is changing, it should change for everybody, right? Not just for you. That means it belongs to the class. So if I make a change in static function, that change should reflect to every single person who's calling that particular function. Okay, not just one object. Okay, so we will discuss that. Don't worry. VARR of 0 and then 10. Okay. Okay. Now let me just run my program. What happens? Rate is what?